myself, well, maybe that was as a result of underdevelopment, lack of fear and care and stuff like that, which was true. But then I started seeing the same trend or similar trend at that hospital. But what was different was the population that were really impacted. It was pretty much the population of immigrants and people of color. So you're talking about Hispanics, the Black people and stuff. And I started wondering, because when you look at it, the healthcare sector has healthcare services that could provide or should provide services for women and children. But that wasn't actually happening in the populations I just mentioned. So the healthcare services available, but they were not accessible to this population. So then when I came to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I continued to work. I worked in a public space, public health department as a supervisor. And then I also worked home visiting as the nurse partnership. And I did home visiting, still found the same trend. And it was really heartbreaking to see in a situation where you don't really have, people healthcare services, which was happening in Africa, in Nigeria particularly, but then similar stuff happening in the United States. So I say to myself, what can I really do, to make a difference? At that time, I contacted with my community sisters that I was living with at that time, and I did share with them all my concerns was. And what was actually the climax of the whole thing was, at that time, 2015, I went home and found out that one of my extended cousins passed away. She was 25. In fact, there were two of them. One was 25, one was 27. And these women passed away and they were university graduates. And what happened was, when we talk about poor healthcare services, no matter how educated you are, if you're not educated wise, it's gonna, the person will be, there's some repercussion to that. Unfortunately, this women were victims, of this poor healthcare services. So then I came back here, shared with my community, and they're like, well, we don't really know what to do, how you can approach this. But I said, I have a plan. Right. I said to them, I have a plan. I can go out in the city, look for people with like minds, start a nonprofit that could really help us. And that was what I did. Started in 2016, I started Zita's Healthy Beginnings. And the whole idea was to prevent, reduce the incident of high maternal and infant mortality rate. I started that here, so it was here in the United States as well as in Africa, Nigeria right now. So we started doing in Africa, every year we do healthcare clinics that we do. We have a medical team that provides care to women and children annually. We also have community healthcare workers that are really waiting to be trained on how to really provide care. We're also planning to get doulas, both here and in Nigeria. What I have found out with the United States situation is we need doulas who can actually work with women, help them access healthcare that is available. But it is different.
Zita?
Yeah. Yes.
Let me ask you a question. What is a doula? What is a doula?
Yes. So a doula is different. Thanks for asking, because I get these questions all the time. Some people mistake doulas for midwives. So there's a difference between a doula and a midwife. And when you talk about like nursing and the nurse aide, the nursing assistant, so just have that image. That's what happens with a midwife and a doula. A doula is one who has a license to really accompany a woman when she's pregnant, to be her advocate, to make sure that she goes to the doctor for her prenatal care, that she is really getting the care she needs. Someone who can make sure that whatever information, whatever protocol that a woman who is pregnant needs to go through, that is done. Somebody who can be an intermediary between the woman and the healthcare system. So we have doulas who work with women when they're pregnant, work with them when they have their babies, and work with them when they're actually having babies. So the midwife, on the other hand, is in charge of everything about the woman. So she can have her own clinic, although doulas do have their own birthing centers, but a midwife has the license to take care of the whole woman from pregnancy to childbirth to postnatal, care. So doulas are really critical here in the United States and elsewhere in the world, because if you don't have anybody, when a woman gets pregnant, if she doesn't have any support system, it's very hard. As we know, during pregnancy, a lot of hormonal changes happen in the woman's body. And that is very normal because she's trying to accommodate the baby or babies in some cases, that she is carrying. And for 9 months, some cases 10 months. And you find out that during those periods, some of these women are not really with the whole thing, especially for first-time moms. And a lot of women now who are first-time moms are also single mothers. That makes it even more difficult. So they need help, and we feel that the people who can fulfill this role midwives and doulas, because midwives are not common here in the United States. Elsewhere in the world, you have more midwives, but in the United States, you don't have a whole lot due to training. They have limited schools and colleges that train midwives. So yeah, doulas.
Zita?
Yes.
Let me hop in here for a second.
Yeah.
You can see under my name is Zita's website. That's a link to her website. And under Zita's name is the name of her organization, Zita's Healthy Beginnings. I just wanted to say I am a website designer and I designed Zita's website. And if you want to get more information, go under my name and go to her website. She has a lot of photographs in there talking about what it is she does, what's happening with Zita's Healthy Beginnings. When I heard about what she was doing and taking care of, I realized I wanted to become part of this. I actually built another website for another school in Africa too, but becoming part of both of these things. And it's a very, you'll see when you get in there and you'll see some of the photographs, and there's also a video of Zita saying hello and talking more about what she does. Zita, where are you located, and do you do anything in the United States?
Yeah, thank you. I am located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I do, what we do here is I do work with women, pregnant mothers, postpartum mothers, young women who are still planning, to have a family. And what I do is I do advocacy. I am planning right now to get a grant to train some of the doulas who are ready, but they don't have the funding to be trained. So we are planning on getting a grant that will really help us support these women through the training. The training lasts for some people it's 12 weeks, and for some it's less than that, depending on people's availability. But all of that costs money. So that's pretty much what my organization is doing here in the United States. But education is pretty much what we're doing. So any mother can reach out to me, any young woman can reach out to us looking for, advice, looking for support. We are here, and we can also do online, guidance, education, and stuff. I do podcasts also, World of Women podcast, and there I have also educated some, women and our population on self-care and all different kinds of, care and what women need, including being self-supported. Because really, a woman needs to really know what she needs and also appreciate who she is. And I believe that women have a lot of wisdom. Women are endowed with a lot of gifts. So I invite women to really reclaim who you are. Be the gift to the world that you are. And how do you do that? I know some of them are really confused. What do I do? How do I do it in this society or in any society? Please reach out to us. Go to my website. You will see all the podcasts we've done in the past. If you want to be a guest, you're welcome. Just send me an email or call me on the phone and we'll schedule so you come to my podcast. And like John said,
when is your podcast, Zita?
so my podcast is every Tuesday, like today at 8 p.m. Eastern, and they last for between 45 minutes and an hour. And everybody's a live podcast like this one. And we invite people to please come listen to us, be a part of our audience, ask your questions, make your comments, and just be. It's a friendly environment that I know women like. Friendly environment where we can just create, love, and collaborate.
Right, and that's a good point. We also have, you don't have to be there live. You can come in and they're recorded. So you can come in and all the information on this is on her website. There's a link there that says World of Women Podcast. Also, the contact page also has a way of you getting a hold of Zita too. So take advantage of that. And she has a gallery of photographs and all kinds of different information. The photographs were taken by different people in the field itself, but they are really good images. And I really was able to put a website together with a lot of those images and the information that Zita was giving. Now, in the United States and Pittsburgh area, we know in Africa it's very poor there, and the women need help. Do you find that happening in the United States at all, especially in maybe the mountains of Pittsburgh and that area? Is it the same or is it real different?
So what I would say is, you rightly said it, Africa is a developing continent, and the United States is considered a developed world, one of the, developed countries in the world. And so it is clear that what goes on in a developed country is a little different from a developing country. So in the United States, you have this whole Western medicine that has really expanded using innovation and stuff like that on a daily basis. Say, for example, electricity, you have water, you have everything, good roads, all those infrastructures are in place. In Africa, it is not the same. So in that aspect, in that regard, it is different. The United States is way ahead, as well as in healthcare. What I have seen here is a situation where you have a healthcare system that is highly functional, located in areas that are really accessible, in the sense that you have good roads, you have a transportation, although that can be a problem for someone who is living in a little bit of a remote area in the United States, especially in Western Pennsylvania. But I think what is lacking here in Western Pennsylvania, where I reside, is that you have this whole health inequity. You find a situation where the healthcare system is pretty available, but it's not accessible to certain population. So, like for example, here in Pittsburgh, I see the Hispanic population, which is pretty low, as well as the African Americans. In Pittsburgh, here we have 81% of our population as white. So the healthcare system is pretty much well kept, well arranged. But this few little small population I'm talking about do not have easy access to healthcare. And in that situation, it's even more embarrassing and more painful because in Africa, like in my country, the healthcare system is non-existent. I'm sorry to say that. So it's like, okay, I don't see it pretty much. I don't miss it that much. But here you have a situation where everybody sees all this high tech, all these innovative activities going on in the healthcare industry, but some people are not getting access to it. And these are fellow citizens as well. So that is the difference. And it makes it so difficult. And that is why I am working hard, talking to anyone that could listen to really see the situation. Because really we are all one when it comes to, being citizens of the United States. And all these great resources that God has endowed this country with should be equally distributed, and the healthcare is very critical. Every single person needs healthcare because once one person is sick, everybody's sick. And until everybody's healthy, nobody's healthy. So that's the way I would look at it.
Can we back up just a minute? I know you just came back from Africa. Your mother died and you went back for her funeral. What was it like growing up? And when did you become a Christian? Was your family Christian? And then you are a Catholic nun now. How did you actually become a nun? How did you get connected to all of that? Tell us a little bit about your family life when you were a kid.
Yeah, so I was actually born into a Christian family. My mom and my dad were Christians, so Catholics. So, and that was the only, or the second group of Christianity that came to my area, in my village at that time. The very first ones were the Anglicans, and then you have the Catholic Church. So when I grew up, pretty much we have two denominations, the Catholic group and the Anglican group. So I was born in a Christian Catholic family, and we lived in what I describe as a village. It might not be the kind of village that you would describe in the United States. The kind of village I'm talking about is where everybody knows everybody else. You have buildings together, you live together, then you have your farm way out. So everybody goes to the farm and then comes back pretty much the same time. We had 2-3 streams, water coming from the stones, and we go to fetch our water. We have similar bush where you go to fetch your firewood for cooking. So we did pretty much everything together, as a family, but not only as a family, as a community. So I was really brought up in that community, family-oriented, community-oriented situation. And that really has impacted my life because I believe that family is pretty essential and none of us actually can exist, so to speak, without your family or without your community. And that was one of the challenges I had when I started traveling the world, especially the Western world. I had a culture shock when I first went to Ireland and learned, you read stuff in the book growing up, but then when you go to the place, it's a different experience altogether. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is how people live. It was different, totally different from what I was, brought up with. Like I said, everybody takes care of everybody else. And in fact, you have other parents directing other children, whether they are their own children or not. They caution you, they can whoop you, they can make sure you're behaving right, whether your parents are there or not. And they can, people are taking care of other people's kids. So for me, that was a very warm, homely environment that I grew up with. So then,
hold on, Zita, real quick. I actually went to India to have a hip operation, and I was there for 6 weeks, and I saw how these people lived in the communities that they lived in that we don't have here in the United States. And I remember thinking at the time, we think we are so hotty-toddy here in the United States, and we're so developed and everything. Our family structures in the United States are really bad. And there's no community, no thing most of the time, unless you live out in the country somewhere, and a lot of people in a small town know each other. But I remember sitting there, and they would tell me about the communities that there would be 4 generations that all lived in that little compound or that little thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish we had something like that. So do you miss the community? Do you miss that community?
Absolutely, I do. I do. And each time I go home, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to leave. Like when I went to my mom's funeral, it was that whole community support. Everybody was coming to, to celebrate her life. Every single person. I mean, like it was a whole carnival. People were coming from everywhere, all our relations, all our friends, everybody came together, brought food, cooked food, ate together, danced together, cried together. So that's the kind of upbringing that I had. And actually, as I grow this organization, Zita's Healthy Beginnings, that is my whole vision, to see a situation, a birthing center, where community come together to support each other. Because I believe that if we have a strong structure, family and community structure that really holds everybody there, crime will reduce. Honestly, with the level of crime we're having today and all these people acting up, when you come down to it, these are people who were actually deprived of family connection, of society recognition, of community engagement and love and support. So, I mean, that tells you how important and how beneficial it is to really belong, to have a sense of belonging in your family or your community, or even the global, community. But how can we develop a global community when we don't even have that strong family upbringing? So it's really hard. That's one of the challenges today. Yeah.
Yes. In the United States, we do not have that. And that's why crime is exploding everywhere. It seems like in the last 10 years, the core beliefs of people has changed so radically. And we no longer are holding on to scripture or God. We have become a godless country in a lot of ways. And it's amazing to me that what's all is happening. So, and then I look at what's going on in Africa. Yeah, sure, you guys are poor, but you guys are rich when it comes to family and culture and things within the family itself. You guys are rich, and in a lot of ways, I would rather we were poor and had that kind of a situation than what we have here in the United States, because there are a number of generations that no longer believe in God. There's a lot of people in the younger generations now that don't even know who Jesus Christ is, don't even know the historical background of all of that. And then their parents never went to church. So these kids are anchorless. They have nothing. I went to there was a Christian debate on ASU college campus. And I remember going there with my son and my grandson, and they had William Lane Craig that came. He's a Christian apologist. And it was amazing. One of the things that they said, has science killed something? Has science killed God? And in the auditorium, there was room for 600 people. And I would say that 90% of them were college students that were getting some kind of a degree or something, and they came to it because of the title. But that told us something, that these kids that are in college or coming into college from high school are hungry, looking for God. They're looking for that hole that's inside of them. How do they fill that? And there was also a video thing where they had people from all over the place, and it was a couple thousand people were actually came into the live stream, and this was pretty much what we were talking about in there. So there is so much to be said for what the hole that God fills us. You know, I look at it. We talk about I'm a white person, you're a black person, but the way I look at it, when God made us, He took our soul and put it into this shell of a body that we're in at this time and place in history. What does that mean exactly? God has a plan for everybody. And obviously, you're fulfilling a plan that He has for you, Zita. And by me connecting with you and other people and trying to spread that, because I do marketing, I do all the design stuff. But when I went back to school, because I'm disabled now, when I went back to school, I asked God to use the talent that He gave me and connected to. So you are one of the benefactors of that. It's just my way of paying God back for the blessings that He has done in my life. And I'm sure you can think of a lot of blessings that God has done. Now, tell me about the community of people that help you run your organization. How does that actually, I know that you have a farm now that's a part of Zita's beginning. How is that going now?
Yeah, so we have what we call Community Hope Farm, and that idea came as a result of our communications with the local people, especially the local women. And our women believe in, communal living, supporting one another. And like I said, growing up, we farmed together, we did everything together. And one of the things that I felt we will really continue to really support both our organization and continue to strengthen that relationship even with the local community is having something in common. And one of the things we have in common now is that Community Hope Farm, which we have, the piece of land was donated to us, and we planted some fruits and vegetables, bananas and plantains. And people, we got people to we hired people to take care of it, and on a daily basis, because really that's a lot of work, to keep it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we had to get some individuals to help us. And what we're doing with that is trying to educate young people to know that, you can live life by actually cultivating the land, planting all kinds of fruits and vegetables, and doing it organically. So they're looking at it, they're seeing what is coming out of the farm, and it's making them happy. And then we are selling them part of it at a reduced price. We are also giving it away to people that we feel cannot really afford it. So the whole idea is that community spirit, the whole idea of education and ongoing training for our younger people is really right. And then the women, we plan to continue to develop it because with science has a whole lot of findings and research that convince us that when you continue to farm, first of all, it even helps you to get healthy. Being in touch with the earth helps us to heal. So our women working there, men working there really experience that fulfillment and that health benefit working in a farm that has organic, you're working in an organic farm with no chemicals or anything. And we have water down the valley also, which some of them use even to drink and to bathe and to water the farm. So for me, really, everything that we need is in that farm, and we hope to develop it so that it becomes an educational center, for young people. And for research, it's gonna eventually turn into a research center because what I see growing there, like the plantain leaves and banana leaves, when we dry them, we can use them as manure. We can also use them for some kind of clothing. And there's nothing there that is a waste, So I'm so happy. It also makes me happy because farming was part of what my parents did when we were growing up. So it's like going back to my basics, going back to my roots. So yeah,
Right.
that is really
Let me hop in here a second. I just wrote an article on my apologetic website. My wife and I moved about a year and a half ago. We started a raised garden in our backyard. My mom had a huge garden when I was growing up, and we grew a couple. And the article I wrote was Vegetable Garden for Mental Health. And I was writing about all the different things when you're depressed and all the different things that happen to you physically. You start growing a garden. It's amazing all the different things that come out of that. You can watch seedlings grow from a very small, and you can watch God's creation, the different things that He has made for us, because in a modern society, you don't see stuff. You don't see gardens. And gardens, I live in the Phoenix area, and gardens have sprouted up all over the Phoenix area, and I belong to a couple of groups. And I just was saying all the benefits when you're depressed and stuff like that. If you go out and hang out with your garden and you're following it along and giving it fertilizer and talking to it. I talk to all the vegetables. They talk back too. And I hear God's voice through these vegetables. We grow tomatoes, green beans, squash, all kinds of stuff, basil. And it's just amazing that you get out of your own self, you get out of your own predicament, and then you start growing things and you go out there every day and you begin to watch this change. So you're doing this on a much bigger scale. And this is good for these different people in your community to see. And then you get to eat all this stuff and then become healthy in the process. So I really commend you guys starting this. And I think when I was posting up stuff on your website and you were telling me about the garden and I was doing setting up your blogs and stuff like that, I was really jealous. And I was like, you know what? We got to do this again. My wife and I need to connect and do this. And here's the strange thing. Since my wife and I started this over a year ago, we raised 3 sons, and all 3 of our sons are now having gardens in their backyard. And it was like, wow, So when they came here and they were looking at it, my grandson came over and he pulled out some radishes and he goes, I got to do this. Grandpa, I got to do this. Will you help me with this? And I said, I sure will. So this is it's almost like an awakening across the globe, and you guys are doing it on a much larger scale, but I would suggest that you keep the younger people involved in it too, so they can see how this stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Where is our food coming from? So I think it's a great idea, Zita. And I bet you miss that also. Don't you miss being able to grow stuff on your own too?
Yeah, I do. I do, honestly. Yeah, I think it's about 8 years ago, was the last time I grew. At that time, I was living in a house that had that space, and I grew tomatoes. It was actually on my Facebook. I grew tomatoes, and I was so excited. I wanted the whole world to see that I grew that at the back of my house. So yeah, I miss that.
My wife and I had a packing crates. They were plastic, they were black with yellow tops, and we used them to move with. And when we got here, we had about 20 of these really big containers left, and we had gotten at Home Depot. And we were like, what are we going to do with these? So I decided to make a raised garden out of these containers. We have a compost thing that makes compost, and then all the stuff that goes into it. And we now, since we're in Arizona, it's getting close to 100 degrees already. So we have it, a shade covering it so it doesn't burn out everything, and we can have a garden through the summer also too. It's just when you pull something off, let's say a tomato that has ripened, and you pull it off for the first time on there and you take a bite out of it, it's just, it's like, this is heaven,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really worked out. It worked out great for us here. So I'm sorry to interrupt there like I did, but I wanted to hear about your garden, and because it was really something close to my heart also.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have gardens of some sort in heaven.
Yes.
I look forward to that. Right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Tell us some more about what is in the future for Zita's Healthy Beginnings. What are you looking at for the future?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a whole lot for the future. Like we talked about, making sure that we keep that spirit alive by involving younger people. So what I have planned to do is to build a birthing center and a healthcare center put together, where we have a community. It's going to be a community birthing center, where we have some women and children and older people living around there and providing care, to women, to younger people, and vice versa. So I just want that community kind of spirit to come back. I really enjoyed it. It really nurtured my life so much. And I want to pass that on, so that if I'm no more tomorrow, that people will see and come back to that area and say, wow, whoever that did this thought about unity, peace, happiness, and joy. So we want to build that, and we actually have a piece of land donated partly by my family and another cousin of mine. So we have that 4.5 or 5 acres right now, plots, to build the birthing center. And I'm hoping that we will find donors who would support us to do that. Because I believe that this is God's work, and God is going to bring the people that we need, that will really support us accomplish this goal. Now, here in the United States, I am also looking to building a birthing center where doulas will actually work with me together to make sure that all this marginalized population will have a place that they can call home when it comes to birthing, learning, supporting one another, and really growing a community. Because community for me is key to building a healthy society. And I believe with women and children, keeping them healthy and happy, that we can be sure of a healthy community in the world, but starting here in the United States and in Nigeria right now.
Okay, very good. I can see that happening, especially in Africa. I think it may be a little bit tougher. It depends on where it's located in the United States. Are you thinking about having it in the Pennsylvania area? And then training these kind of, here's a funny thing. My wife and I had our last two boys at home. We had them at home instead of going to the hospital. They are now 48 and 45 years old. But this is a long time ago, but I just remember having a midwife come to our house both times. And I can see where there would be a great attraction for a doula. In Africa, a part of your clinic, are you going to start training some of the younger people and even some of the older people to be a part of the clinic itself?
Yes.
So they have a feeling of being a part of something bigger than themselves.
Right, right. That's what I mean. Yes. Yes, we have a community health workers. We're gonna have people we train to actually work in with that population. Yeah.
Do you find it hard to get some doctors to come to your clinic?
I don't find it hard. Actually, we have many doctors, but it is hard because none of them want to do anything free. So you will have to pay them to actually come to the village, to provide care. Almost all the doctors are in the cities and we don't have transportation, so to bring them to the village, which really is appropriate to make it like home visiting, but it's gonna be like in a center where everybody gathers to access care. So bringing someone or healthcare providers to areas like that costs money. That is where it is hard, that you have to pay all those healthcare providers to go to the village to take care of your people.
Okay, so when you have your yearly, do you got like a clinic that happens once a year or once every 2 times a year?
No, right now we're doing it every year because we can't afford, doing it twice. We would have loved to do it every 3 months, but because of the cost, like I explained, it costs like $2,000 every year to do that. So if we're gonna be doing it every 3 months, you see how much that will cost us. So, and we don't have that money right now. So if we'll have people who can really donate, I don't mind, organizing, because guess what? Annual treatment is really not enough. We know how people are, and we have this endemic kind of diseases that people go through, especially malaria, typhoid. You have all kinds of stuff, and they have this typhoid as a result of not getting a lot of good water supply or other hygienic issues. So this is where people get into trouble with some of these diseases. So yeah, when we have people who can do more of education, more advocacy, providing more care on a timely basis, it will really reduce some of these endemic issues that people go through. And that's my hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's do a little advertising here. If you go to Zita's website, there's a donate button on each of the pages. And if you find yourself in a position where you have extra money or something, or would like to donate maybe on a regular basis, I would suggest you go there to the donate, and it would be greatly appreciated if you do that. Your dollar that you send that goes directly to Zita's Healthy Beginnings will go much further than even here in the United States. It will really bring a lot of healthcare services and a lot of other services into Africa itself. So I'm looking at a photograph of, I see a doctor sitting there, and there are a number of women that are talking to him, and one woman in particular sitting there holding probably a 4 or 5 month old baby, and she's talking to him, and there's a bunch of other kids in the room also. This is what we mean. This is a chance for these women to actually talk and get some health care for the future for their family. Do you have any like nurses or anybody that works at the clinic, or people that are medical knowledge that can help? Do you have many people like that there that help on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis, we don't have, like I said, that our medical personnel, most of them live in the cities. And of course, they want to be paid to come to the local communities to provide care. What I have right now are people that I have gathered who are willing to be trained as community health workers and be trained as doulas as well. Yeah, but what I'm waiting for and looking for is the financial resource that can really take care of that. So we are hoping by the end of this year, we will be training the first group, 16 people, for community healthcare providers. And those people will be going, like doing home visiting, finding out how people are doing, and then reporting. The other thing I wanted also to do is I want to take advantage of the innovation in technology, like having a telephone, phones that people can tell us, what is going on, call the nurse or call the whoever and tell them what is going on. And they can do that through text messaging as well. Like the WhatsApp is all over right now, Africa, and it's free. So if we can get phones that can really have that capacity, we can use that to help especially the pregnant mothers, women with children.
Right.
Yeah, in those interior areas who might need help. They can text us and tell us what is going on. Then we can arrange, for a doctor, a nurse, or a midwife to reach out to them. A lot of them suffer in silence. They don't have any avenue to really get health care in the villages. And it really breaks my heart that such thing is going on, even this day and age. So even if people don't have financial support, if they can connect me or connect us to organizations or groups that can really help us as a group, that would be really great. You don't have to donate just money. Donate your information or connection. Please do that. We'll really be happy you did.
Yeah, I've been reading about lately about in the rural areas of the United States, they have lost their doctors and their clinics in their towns because they just can't afford it. But they have set up something like you're talking about here, where they can connect to somebody. I could see that happening as a hub somewhere in Africa where people can get medical help using the app you're talking about. Because that, I would think that would take care of 85% of the things for information, saying, hey, this is a problem I got. If you had a nurse or a doctor on call and he was reading and saying, hey, do this, do this, do this. This will probably help. Scripture says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And that's what's going on. There's a lack of knowledge of how to deal and take care of these things, especially when it comes to babies, newborns, all that kind of stuff. What do I do if a baby is breached? What do I do? This is like, they just don't have the information. So, I could just see. So are you thinking about trying to get something set up like that in Africa?
Yes,
Where they can,
yes,
good.
yeah.
This would be a good thing for us to blog about and to
Mhm.
send out some feelers out there and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do. And I guess they got cell phones everywhere now.
Mhm.
Is
Pretty much. Even if they don't, they have somebody that has, so
right,
yeah.
right. And then get somebody in a clinic that you have a special cell phone that is only designed for your app.
Mhm.
That the people come in and say, hey, got something very strange here. What do we do? Here's a photograph. You could take a photograph with the cell phone. That's amazing. You just send it to the doctor and say, this is what it looks like.
Right,
What do
right,
we do? I
right.
can see that really taking off in Africa, but here too, in a lot of places that they're doing it. So,
We're
good.
doing it here, John. We do it here. I worked in the public health, and I used to. I was the supervisor, and we used telephone to help. It was in the TB clinic. So we had a patient. Their treatment is a long treatment. So instead of having them coming to us every single day, we had that ad where they call us. We watch them take their medicine, so they don't have to come to us every single day, because that's really tiring, and you find people not compliant and stuff like that. But when you have this app that is so easy, people can call you on the app and they tell you what's going on. They can actually show you, the medicine, count it. You say, put it in your mouth, drink water. You watch them absolutely do everything. So that's the kind of thing I'm like, okay, we can do this in Africa. And in fact, Africa is where we need this most right now, just because we are underdeveloped as we speak.
Yeah, great idea. Keep me informed. I want to know all about how this is working. Let's have you back on for another podcast. I know we're running down out of time here, but let's do some more. Let's do a blog about this. Let's get some people that are very familiar with the technology and the app, and maybe they know how to instigate this and get this kicked in big time in Africa. Somebody from over there, somebody from here, but will also come up alongside some technical help to do this. And
Yeah.
I'm willing to promote this as much as I can through our website and other places. And that's why I really felt God's calling to get you on here to talk about this. I'm not sure how many people we have coming to the podcast at the moment, but we are expanding and we're getting into more places now. So I want to get you on here as a regular basis, and I come to your podcast from time to time also. So let's connect again, Zita. I just really want to thank you for coming on our podcast here. Um, Thank you, everyone who is here with us. Our next episode of Jaws Rights Talk will be aired in June when Zita will be back with us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel or page where you found us, and check out our website and find out more about this and other shows. Until next time, we wish you a very productive and enjoyable week. And again, Zita, thank you for coming on our podcast. And we will see you next time.
Thank you so
Okay?
much, John. Bye.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye.
Mhm.